So, Eternal Weekend Asia has happened now, and we have our first set of results from that. And today I am going to bring you the spiciest of the deck lists from that event. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video. Today, I Hate Names gave me a Dealer's Choice donation deck list, and I'm going to use that to test out some decks from Eternal Weekend Asia, which is the first of the major end of the year legacy tournaments that we're going to be seeing over the next couple of months. Just briefly talking about the event, it was won by a Moon Stompy deck list, and generally speaking, there's a ton of land-based acceleration decks. Think your Painter, your Eldrazi decks, your Moon Stompy style decks. There's a ton, and I mean a ton of blue-black decks, mostly blue-black Reanimator. And then there's a handful of other viable decks. We see a handful of Nadu appearances. We are going to deep dive these results on the Eternal Glory podcast this week, or I guess last week for you all. So check out the Eternal Glory podcast if you want to go into these results in detail and get a ton of analysis. But for today, I want to zero in on one of the decks from right outside the top 16, this Elves list by Hampta. And I'm zeroing in on this one because this one has the spice. And I don't understand the spice. And when I don't understand something, that is usually the time where I need to just shut up, play it for myself, test the card, and figure out my own opinions. And the wildest thing that's here is Sylvan Anthem. So, green creatures you control get +1/+1 whenever a green creature you control enters scry 1. And honestly, I don't get it. If we were playing in a metagame where Orcish Bowmasters is 40 or 50% of the format, you're expecting to see that as like 4 copies in every deck, I would get it. And maybe in a previous metagame, I could have been on board with that. But I don't really understand that. I don't know that in a metagame where our opponent might just reanimate an Atraxa, or, put a, oh wow, blanked on the name, Glaring Fleshraker into play and then threaten to combo off with it the following turn. I don't know why we're probably spending a turn worth of mana to do this. And then there's Eladamri Korvecdal. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. You can cast creature spells from the top of your library, and you can pay a green and tap 2 untapped creatures you control to reveal a card from your hand or the top card of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, put it onto the battlefield. Activate this only during your turn. So, are we going to do a non-deterministic combo where we have green creatures enter, we scry non-creatures to the bottom so that we can continue to play creatures from the top of our library? Is that kind of the goal here? I need to see this in action. This deck also has Jaspara Sentinel in it, a 1/2 with reach. Tap an untapped creature you control to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. And I suppose in a pinch, you can use that to help cast some things that, I suppose technically could be possible off some Birchlore Ranger lines to cast, but would be difficult to cast. We are playing this before we play something like Llanowar Elves, though. So our deck builder here must want a green sunnable reach creature that also has some other upsides. That's kind of my guess here. And we see a few other bits of spice here with the Leaf-Crowned Visionary. The cards of this cycle have seen a little bit of legacy play, but not a ton. And then Keen-Eyed Curator, which is the new pseudo-scavenging ooze effect from Bloomburrow that lets you exile cards from graveyards for colorless mana rather than green, and instead of gaining life, this has the ability to become a base 7/7 creature with trample, which sounds pretty good. Sideboard has the 4th Natural Order in case you need to speed up your combo lines. It has a whopping 6 pieces of free interaction, for playing against Reanimator decks, and then presumably the 4 the 4 Abrupt Decays for the Psychic Frogs out of those same decks. So yeah, let's go ahead and see this one in action here. Folks, if you end up needing some Magic cards, especially for MagicCon Vegas, which is coming up for you all this week, I suppose, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. They'll have the purple banner, just like you see on screen here. And if you want to place your order in advance, promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order, and you can pick it up on site. And I can tell you that I have done that for the last couple of cards that I needed to fill out my EDH decks for the weekend. With that being said, let's battle. All right, opponent has told me they're a fan of a channel. I've wished them luck. If they kill me on turn 1, I take back my luck. Take it back. All right, so we are on a relatively linear hand here. The goal is to just jam a natural order and have that resolve. We have basically no ability to wiggle away from that plan. Like that is just what this hand is about. We need to get to at least 4 mana, probably 5 mana, if we want to play around a daze. You can make an argument that instead of doing what I did and grabbing Dryad Arbor, you play Heritage Druid on 1 so that you can grab Allosaurus Shepherd on 2. And I could also see playing out the game in that capacity. It's like Counterspell versus Wasteland. Which one of those things do you care about more? So let's go ahead and Heritage Druid here. I'm going to go ahead and attack for 1. I am probably fetching another Dryad Arbor at end of next turn. And then we will be jamming Natural Order a turn early. So my current thoughts are that my opponent is probably playing some sort of show and tell deck list. It could be something like Beans instead, like seeing that immediately thinks me not show and tell since that's not a base blue fetch land. Yeah. Okay. It could be Infect. We could be a Bant Nadu deck list. Let's hope we don't find out and we just kill our opponent. Dryad Arbor. So this is now interesting. Now I can probably play this out a little differently. Because I can do this, see if this gets Force of Willed. If this gets Force of Willed, I like probably pitching a daze after I play Gaia's Cradle. I can just jam Natural Order and put Atraxa into play. I am a genius. Oh, wait, no, I can't Natural Order, because I was counting the 4th mana from Cradle. Not a genius. We might just end up hoofing instead. How much mana do I have next turn? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? 7 of 8? You rumbling? You're not rumbling. So Birchlore Rangers is basically free. So we can go land, regular cast Birchlore Rangers. I mean, show me Force of Will blue card, I guess. So Natural Order. Let's sack Birchlore Rangers. All right, fantastic. I will grab Atraxa, dig pretty deep into my deck here. I will get a land, Planeswalker, enchantment, sorcery, Reacher? That's a lot of fuel. Is there a good green sun target here? Yes. So let's go ahead and green sun for 1. That can get me either Allosaurus Shepherd or just Wirewood Symbiote. I think I'm just going to get Allosaurus Shepherd. I think I just always win next turn if I play Hoof. Let's go ahead and just call it there. A flash creature could happen in combat. I don't think I need to expose myself to that. So I have removal for a giant creature if that happens. Opponent just junks a land. I guess I also just like kind of activate this as well. I guess it could still be like 1 ring show and tell. My green spells can't be countered anyway. Okay, yeah. Yeah, what exactly are you playing? This could be the Infect deck that saw no Infect cards. The Noble Hierarchs would be a little weird for blue-green show and tell. Blue-green show and tell seeing that many non-basic lands without seeing any basic islands is a little weird. Windswept Heath would be a little weird for a show and tell deck. That would be a lot weird for a show and tell deck. That would be like really showing an emphasis on the green producing lands over the blue producing lands, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know how to sideboard. I just absolutely do not have a read on what my opponent is doing here. Accordingly, my answer is probably don't sideboard, or sideboard very lightly. I think I want to have access to an Endurance. Just something that says no to an Oko is probably fine. I think I'm just going to trim the Jaspara Sentinel, and I am thinking about the 4th natural order. When you don't know what your opponent is doing, getting them dead tends to be pretty good. I think I'll just trim one of these, just win condition for win condition. Ooh, yeah, no. Absolutely not. What's my land count in this deck? Sometimes these decks are a little land light, since they have some mana dorks. 20 is reasonable, although not all of those are turn 1 mana producers because you have to factor in Cradles and Dryad Arbors into that. Yeah. How do we feel about this hand with Atraxa back in the deck? Not great. Not great. I think I'm going to keep it. Like, I don't know what I'm mulliganing for anyway. Another Windswept Heath. Okay, yeah, no, it was in fact on a Bizarro draw. Alright, got it. So I can adjust greatly for the next game. I think I'm going to Wirewood here. So in theory, I can try to set up some Wirewood plus 1-drop situation where I just block and bounce. Trample gets me into all sorts of questionable territory. Sure. Don't like that for me. I'm gonna take what is hopefully 2 points of damage here, so that I have more mana for next turn. My blocks might not be good for the rest of the game, and I boarded out that Reach creature. Gaia's Cradle doesn't actually boost my mana in a meaningful way this turn, unfortunately. So we'll cast this, save it as a surprise for next turn, try to put an Atraxa into play. Let's go no attack here. We've got a Brainstorm rather than firing off Inkmoth Nexus immediately. I'm not sure if that's good or bad for me. Resources that aren't immediately spent killing me are probably good, but my opponent finding combinations of like Invigorate and Berserk that just instantly kill me, he would not be a fan of that. Alright, so Glistener Elf fires in. I will attempt the block bounce thing. I'll untap my Wirewood Symbiote, bouncing my Elf. Oh shit, it just worked. Does that mean a Blighted Agent is now going to come down? Nope. Okay. Well, what does that mean then? So I'll recast this friend. Then I can go up to 3 mana to attempt to cast a Grist. This is Dazable, this is Spell Pierceable. Swords to Plowshares, sure. So the Windswept Heath represents the ability to fetch white. So, does Grist minus actually accomplish anything? My opponent can fire up Inkmoth Nexus and then just attack in. My opponent can attack with 2 bodies next turn if they want. Legolas's quick reflexes could invalidate a removal spell, and the thing that I want to remove is Inkmoth Nexus anyway. I think I just plus this Grist, as weird as that is, and then I have a natural order for Atraxa set up next turn, even if I block a Glistener Elf once. My opponent says no to Force of Will, which could mean there's no blue card, or it could mean that they are very close to killing me and they just need 1 more piece to do so. New Inkmoth. Don't love that. It's now getting easier for my opponent to go wide of a single blocker like Atraxa. Sure. So this could be 3 Infect at me. This could be 3 at Grist, so I can't minus on something. This is, I think, 3 at me. So this is 5 Infect. So smaller creatures are free here. We can go ahead and just cast a Birchlore Rangers. So this is 3 mana, off Guy's Cradle, 4 mana. Already playing around Daze if I do something like Dryad Arbor here. I think I will. Let's grab a Dryad Arbor. So I could Grist plus? Does this change the math on a Crater Hoof? I'll have 4 creatures as of right now. So everything gets +4, +4. 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, plus 5, 19. Yeah, so the math does look better this way. Natural order. Sacrifice an insect token that I just made. Crater Hoof. Trigger. Combat. Swing. Lethal. I didn't do math for if it's lethal through Invigorate. Yeah, it would not have been lethal through Invigorate, but we got there. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I could say all sorts of great things about them, but I'm just going to point to this number. I have 488 deck lists stored on this site. That should give you a feel for how I feel about this website. And if you were to go to my profile, you could see all the deck lists that I'm messing around with, including my EDH decks, and you can even see some of the deck lists I record with before they hit the channel. Ooh. Okay, I think this one is a keep. I would not enjoy being wastelanded. I've got a basic forest, but this is probably getting me a Dryad Arbor immediately, unless I just draw another land here. I think I need that mana burst immediately. It's possible I could play Allosaurus Shepherd on 1 to not expose myself to counter spells, though. See how our draw changes our perspective of our hand. I think I like risking this to a counter spell on turn 1 here. Doesn't exactly feel great. Force of Willing a Green Sun. It's not like you would never do it, but in a deck that has natural orders and maybe grists, cards of that nature that you care about a lot more, it's maybe not the best use of your resources. Plus, you know, fetch into Swords to Plowshares, fetch into Fatal Push, like that sort of stuff is just a more efficient and better way to deal with Dryad Arbor a lot of the time. So I think trying to do this and having the upside of my creature sometimes making it around the table so that I can do like Allosaurus Shepherd into Birchlore Ranger, into Heritage Druid or Wirewood immediately, I think is pretty high upside. Yeah, my opponent's not even sure if they want to answer Dryad Arbor. Like, they have floated their white mana and unfloated it. And floated again. And unfloat it. And pass turn. Up! Play a removal spell, coward! Do it. You won't. Either that or it's a Prismatic Ending. And that can't hit Urza Saga deck. So maybe Cephaloid Breakfast. Or like, there's a Prismatic Ending situation where they can't hit a land. And they would like to hit a land. So we're going to play this one. Now, I would like Dryad Arbor to live. So we're going to try to make Allosaurus Shepherd die right here by playing Birchlore Rangers. If my opponent has a Swords, this is a great opportunity to Swords this so that I can't play an additional card this turn. Anyway, I'm going to play an additional card this turn. Would I also like to play Wirewood Symbiote? Wirewood untap, Dryad Arbor. Let's put Wirewood Symbiote onto the stack. My opponent has to fire off Swords and just... Alright. What Swords, I guess? Third land drop. So the target is Wirewood Symbiote if you are removing one of my things. Okay, yep, that's fine. So it was Prismatic Ending, Dryad Arbor last turn. That call was correct. Blue-White Painter. Well, that's spicy. What are we doing about that? Maybe dying. Let's go... Yeah. Ooh, we're getting movement here. There are a Swords to Plowshares. There is... that's fine. I don't need to make a mana in response. Wow. Going Hellbent. Green mana. Play Quirion Ranger. Return a forest I control to my hand to untap target creature. Play a land drop. I have 1, 2, 3 mana available. I think I'm interested in playing Grist. I don't want to die to Painter past the turn lines, so while I know that my opponent has no ability to counter this, I just want to get this going. Ah, fuck, Natural Order. No! And then we can do, like, play Sylvan Anthem, Grist plus, start scrying towards something that kills our opponent. Sure. That's fine. Although there could be some lifelink style nonsense that happens in the not too distant future that could be a little bit annoying. Leaf Crowned Visionary is on cast. What is this? Oh, sure. You may absolutely manually mill me. So bam, bam, Sylvan Anthem, untap Dryad Arbor, Bouncing Forest. I guess we're always Grist plussing. Let's do that right now. Oh wait, I could... No, I guess there's some decision of which one of these I actually do want to play. Green Sun. So that's a relatively small Green Sun. I don't think I'm interested in that. So land drop. This adds 1, 2, 3 power to the board. This adds more power than that to the board. Yeah, maybe I play Sylvan Anthem so I get 2 scries immediately. Yeah, I think so. I think that was an error on my part. So this attacks for 9. And then I do just have lethal this turn due to double Sylvan Anthem. So my opponent could have land plus Painter activate. Oh, nope, sorry. No, they could still have land plus Painter activate, but I thought we were at the next stage of Urza's Saga. Tamiyo is fine. So my opponent has 2 blockers here as of right now. So if they block 2 3/3s, they get hit for 9 and die. Cool. Let's make some mana. Cast this. Tilt the math further in my favor. And opponent is dead. This is a weird build. Opponent's on a brew. So why? Why would they want to play this? I guess having Swords to Plowshares means that you get better at answering Metamorphosis Fanatic, Troll of Khazad Doom. The Pyroblast and Hydroblast that you could normally play in Painter answer the Frogs and Tamiyos and a lot of the stuff, but doesn't actually touch the black cards that get into play. And we should maybe expect Emery from this deck. That would be a reason to be in blue. There could be some weirdo things like, oh geez, the Scissors card. What is the Scissor card called? Animate Artifact? No. There's some Scissors that turns artifacts into 5/5s. There's some other weird card draw spells like, testing the memory banks here. I think it's like Forging the Anchor that sometimes gets seeds play in decks that look like this. I want this to tutor for. I want this to tutor for. I would like another tutor. I want at least a couple Endurances and Abrupt Decays. Oh, I guess Disruptor Flute's good too. I have a lot of options here. I don't know how to go about trimming things in this deck. I'm going to assume the cute card can go. I'm going to assume that Elvish Visionary can go. Like, do I just gut all the cute things? That gets me these plus 6 of these cards. Cut that too. Just keep the 1-drops mostly as mana acceleration. Makes my Nettle Sentinels, which I haven't drawn yet, way worse if I do this. Let's go 4 Abrupt Decays, 1 Disruptor Flute, 2 Endurances. This is turn 3 Grist, turn 2 have a bunch of mana. This probably goes somewhere. It doesn't have any of the like pile O sideboard cards that I just threw in, but we can assume that I will draw something relevant over the next few turns, I think. Sure. Let's just ignore counterspells this game, or at least try to. My opponent probably has 8 game 1 mana removal spells for my elves. Probably not more post-sideboard, question mark. But I'm guessing that this deck has 4 swords and 2 to 4 copies of Prismatic Ending. That's just kind of what makes sense to me. Planeswalker Tamiyo's plus ability is more annoying if I'm not playing the Sylvan Anthems. Sylvan Anthem specifically for the Tamiyo plus? Oh. No, of course they have Ancient Tomb. It's an Urza Saga deck. It just feels a little dirty. The cantrips are not usually seen alongside Ancient Tomb. Alright, my opponent is sitting here in second main, thinking about whether or not they are cracking that clue. Ooh. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to pass turn. My opponent's going to crack their clue. This attack doesn't actually do anything, even if I kill Tamiyo first, so I'll just pass the turn here. Yeah, and by passing the turn with mana available, my opponent doesn't want to crack that clue now. I will go ahead and nuke the Tamiyo now. I can resolve a Grist and then kill a Painter if I have to. More Brainstorm. It's a lot of mana to, like, play Painter, play Grindstone, activate all in the same turn, so we'll probably see at least one piece coming. Now what? Okay, there we go. So we have to keep in mind that Hydroblast could now kill things or counter things, honestly. Oh, yes. That's so effing good. So let's cast a Heritage Druid. If I'm greedy, I cast another Heritage Druid here, and I can Abrupt Decay afterwards. But that sometimes gets cut off, and I die because of it, so let's not. Let's fetch, grab another Bayou. I think I just passed the turn. There's a really weird, like, Hydroblast, Hydroblast, Blue Elemental Blast chain of interactions here where, like, I would like to funnel my mana, my opponent's mana, into a Blue Elemental Blast and then remove Painter with one of those on the stack. But if I wait too long, I may give them time to find one of those and they fire those off in response with my Abrupt Decay on the stack. But like, I would love for my opponent to like tap a land or a Grindstone or something like that, and then I commit to an answer in response. Nothing. Sure. Love that for me. I'm going to cast a Heritage Druid here, which incentivizes removal on one of these if my opponent has instant speed removal. Because otherwise, I get a shit ton of mana. Ooh. Okay, so my opponent will name Allosaurus Shepherd in response to shut off this 6 mana ability. It does not actually shut off Heritage Druid's ability. And then that baited out Disruptor Flute, so now Grist can resolve and do Grist shenanigans. Oh no! Activated abilities of the sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they are mana abilities. These can still do their thing. Okay. Then why did we respond to Heritage Druid? Yeah. Fetch. Is there any reason why to get one of these or the other? I guess I'll grab a Forest in case something gets weird. Don't daze me, I guess. I'm not expecting daze. So we'll Insect, and now we're good against a Painter that is played out. I think my opponent made some errors in that turn cycle. Now, I don't have any gas right now to punish those errors. Caracas Emery is a thing. Crack Clue. Doing so by tapping that Caracas is a little weird. Oh, hey, there's a thing to punish them. Cool. I guess Force of Will blue card is a thing that could happen. I don't know that I care. I'm not expecting a flash creature. I'm always playing this land drop. I am interested in plussing here. It does not matter whether or not I plus before or afterwards. Hoof is still lethal. 4 attackers. 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15 plus Hoof. Yeah. So it does not matter when I activate this. I mean, I guess removal can get involved. But if my opponent has removal spells, then I'm not dying. So get Hoof. Get big. I guess Consign to Memory could happen. Negative. This is still lethal through 1 removal spell without using Grist. Well, that was a really weird one. Scoreboard says deck is good. Alright, whether or not this is a keep is fully dependent on whether or not I believe the top of my deck turns this into a playable hand. So let's just kind of think. A Gaia's Cradle probably means that I can just kill with 5/5 elves. That's fine. A Natural Order probably means that this hand is keepable. A Grist is fine, a Green Sun is fine, a Sylvan Anthem is fine. The 1-drops are pretty mid. So I want you. Oh no, it's 21 if I count the Cradles. Yeah, without running the numbers, 21 hits in 2 or 3 draws is probably fine. Yeah, and it's definitely 3 draws. Yeah, 21 out of 53 3 times. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, we are playing against Eldrazi. I can... Let's go into exile. Thought Knots here and some mana. That was almost certainly a wrong play, right? So, if you once upon a time, you are only ever keeping one of those cards, is there something you would want to take and then something you would want to always put back in your deck? I guess it could be like Soul Land that you need plus Silver Bullet endgame card off Eye of Ugin. That could put you into that situation. Oops, all shepherds. So let's fetch. This is probably Nettle Sentinel here. Nettle Sentinel can attack into a higher number of creatures next turn than these can. Colored mana is online. Glaring Fleshraker is probably the scary one here. Okay, so that's it that heralds the end. I don't know why my opponent kept their hand. Either that or they're new and they didn't realize, like, Eye of Ugin doesn't make this free. We'll stay on basics so that we don't get got quite as hard by sowing Mycospawn into Wasteland immediately. And now I need some sort of like natural order, grist, some sort of haymaker before my opponent starts bridging the gap to 7 mana. They have 5 mana showing plus a reduction of 1, so 7 drops like Devourer of Destiny are online next turn. So that means Allosaurus Shepherd is basically free here. So I can have 5 mana this turn off Gaia's Cradle, which doesn't really do me any good. So instead, let's go ahead and just attack with Nettle Sentinel. I imagine that my opponent is not trading. Like, I think this mana is going to be used for Kozilek's Command. Then we'll untap our friend. Yes. Is there a Surveil land in this deck? I don't think there is. There is not. Wastelandable land, non-wastelandable land, extra body for if I Lucksack into a hoof. I think I like extra body. Alright, I lose 1. My opponent gets a couple of spawns. The spawns do become 1/2s. Opponent was not willing to do that during combat to trade with Nettle Sentinel. Sure. That's fine. So I'll now lose out on another creature. I lose out on a Shepherd. That's fine. Not the biggest fan of this as a 7/7. I don't need to do that much damage to my opponent to kill them. So hopefully I just like draw some castable card, fetch Dryad Arbor, then activate Cradle the following turn, attacking for 15 or so damage. Yeah, opponent not coming in. That's fine. Alright, I wanted a castable card. So we'll just play this and pass turn. That I don't love. It's now significantly harder for me to kill my opponent. We can still do it. We can still top deck something like a Natural Order. They junked all of those cards they looked at. But I really need to draw something other than land here in order to stay competitive in this game. We kept a land heavy hand and then drew more land. Is not what we want to see. Sure. I don't think that actually matters because that does not stop my better plays. Like, I'm basically drawing Natural Order this turn. So this is Dryad Arbor, and then I have 4 mana for Natural Order already. So can I just block this to save 2 life this turn and give me an extra draw towards Natural Order? Yeah, I think I can. Alright. So fetch Dryad Arbor. Hey, you remember when I said that we would need to draw something other than land? I stand by that assessment. Opponent's at 7. They don't get to play many more spells this game. Fuck! That's so bad! I still have live draws. It's just very hard to win now. So for example, I can draw a Grist into a Natural Order, and that does it. What? Why though? You know, fuck you too, deck. Okay. So, I would like extra Natural Orders. It's not hard to kill my opponent, and Atraxa is a hell of a drug at stabilizing. And then I'll probably play an out or two to things like Chalice of the Void. Alright, how do we feel about this mid-rangey bullshit? How do we feel about that? The Despara Sentinel can probably go. Mid-rangey stuff is so slow, but like, playing a couple of these and then hitting my opponent for 9 is like not unreasonable. Because of Glaring Fleshraker in particular, I probably need to play the entire set of Abrupt Decays. Do I care about Rexage? Maybe I don't care about Rexage. Like, maybe I just play this. Like, yeah. I don't really want to cut a forest. I only have 1 black card. Maybe I just do that? No. I'm boarding in Abrupt Decays. JK. Can't do that. Elvish Visionary's slow. Not that Sylvan Anthems aren't. This is going to be a fast Natural Order hand. This is fine. and I can do so off double basics. So I have like Dismembers to think about versus Chalice of the Void on 1 to think about here. I'm gonna put Birchlore in play. Birchlore could be a 3-mana 2/2 if Chalice on 1 happens, though. My opponent tanked pretty hard on their mulligan and ended up keeping their 6. I think I'm gonna cast this one still. I think I want this in play 4 mana because getting to 4 mana for Natural Order matters so much. Okay. Gonna Fleshraker me? No. Chalice on 1. Sure. This spell can't be countered. Anyway, always yield. Fetch. Is this a basic? I think this is just a basic given how close I am to Natural Order. So, uncounterable. Unless Dismember happens in response. Ooh. That is happening. It no longer makes sense to cast these 1-drops. Attack for 1. Send it. Oh my gosh. That's so much damage. Rip Natural Order, though. I don't think it makes sense to play that. We're just going to pass the turn here. We'll see how much damage my opponent ends up taking to their own Ancient Tombs here. They would like to play something that stabilizes the board this turn. Negative. Well, sure. I think we are going to go ahead and take out the Chalice here. I think my opponent was F6'd, so that's a really good tell that they don't have Ozilek's command here. There's presumably a basic Waste or Forest over there. Oh, right. Wastes doesn't work here. I'm going to explain that to my opponent. They just asked about it. So that's a basic land, but doesn't have a basic land type. So I'm going to just pull that up here. Right. So notice how this says basic land, but it's not basic land dash something. That's why that doesn't work. So if you look at forest for comparison, it is basic land dash forest. So now we can play a new elf, go 1 and 2, play Quarian Ranger. I guess I could have attacked for 1 there, bounce a forest, untap this, attack for 1. I was not the most dialed into my play at that exact moment. My opponent stabilizes at 1. Let the record show that it is my fault. Sure. Is that worth it? And is that the right target? Or, ooh. Wow, opponent getting saucy with that attack. Yeah, so I'm coming in. Yeah, if I don't miss my point of damage last turn, my opponent can't... Oh, no. My opponent can't cast a spell off Ancient Tomb here. So that attack I missed is a really big deal. It's not like I will miss that forest if it is not in play, given that I am hellbent. Alright, we bring this to the next game. My opponent is keeping their chalices in. Maybe that was a major part of their mulligan decision. Do I want Rexage? The issue with playing Rexage as a Green Sun target is that Allosaurus Shepherd is also a Green Sun target. I think I'm fine with it. Just like trim 1 Sylvan Anthem or something. Like, I don't think I'll really miss a Sylvan Anthem. And sometimes I just draw a Rexage and it's not a Green Sun target. Alright, so if my opponent keeps one of these Chalice of the Void hands, I have something that makes my 1-drops uncounterable. In answer to that, I have some other reasonable cards that are castable here. I don't Goldfish fast enough to beat a, like, Glaring Fleshraker Nut Draw, though. What's going to exile? Those are some pretty reasonable cards. So does this mean my opponent has mana and has Thought-Knot Seer already? Or... You usually junk more cards if you're looking. No turn 1 play. Alright, so... The first thing that I'm doing is certainly basic land Allosaurus Shepherd. And then if my opponent plays something like Glaring Fleshraker, I will just take that out immediately. My opponent plays something like Thought-Knot Seer, I'll feel a little bit behind. Oh, interesting. That was once upon a time that just kept on top rather than... No, they didn't. They took an Eye of Ugin, but sent one to exile. Okay. So this is fine. My opponent has 2, 4, 5, 6, potentially 7 mana to just hard cast this 6/6 that I don't have an immediate answer for. I may need to use my turn to Boseiju a land. When I Boseiju'd last time, they did not have forest in deck. That could have meant that it was in hand. This may straight up be a land destruction card here. And I think I do it on Eldrazi Temple because Ancient Tomb costs them life. I think that's where we're at. Like, opponent's deck might be very close to colorless. I haven't seen Sowing Mycospawn yet, which is weird. Yeah, no, that was a straight up land destruction card. They don't have basic forest. Yeah, they might not have Sowing Mycospawn. That's fucking wild. Alright, it's another eye. Sure, that's totally fine. I can take 2 here, and that's no big deal. So, I now don't have to be quite as afraid of playing that out. Ooh. So, I guess Dismember is technically up. I don't know that my opponent would Dismember immediately, though. So let's go... Okay, no, they don't have anything. Let's go Birchlore, Bayou, and I think I decay this so that this card isn't cost reduced by 1. Let's go green, black, decay it that heralds the end, and pass. Then if my opponent plays Devourer of Destiny, they can exile one of my elves, and then I can Grist minus to answer the Devourer of Destiny. Yeah, we're potentially okay here still. So that can be Devourer, costing a spawn. Let's get rid of this here. And then we're just going to need to find something that wins the game before Eye of Ugin can start to be activated. Are you Dryad Arbor? You might be Dryad Arbor. So that I can keep Birchlore Rangers. So Grist minus, sack Dryad Arbor, kill Devourer of Destiny. If I attack and it that heralds the end could kill Grist, I think I'm fine taking that risk. I think this game is going to end up being very tight, and I think every single point of life might matter. Ooh. The Blast Zone could answer Grist, could answer Birchlore Rangers. So I want to Sylvan Anthem first, then do the Grist Scry. So Scry, I'd love to find like a natural order. You're not natural order. I do not need to play Cradle for any reason, I don't think. Let's send in with Birchlore, see what my opponent thinks of that. Take the hit, and pass turn. Not activating Blast Zone, not ticking up Blast Zone. Is the Blast Zone land necessary for anything? Maybe. What a miscount of mana? Must have been a miscount of mana for something. Fuck yeah. Alright, so I'm going to plus this and hope that it doesn't mill the exact card that I want, which is Craterhoof. I guess I could have mathed. Try 1. So I want you in deck. If this doesn't win me the game immediately, I do want to have that in deck. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Cast Natural Order. We're going to sack the one that can be Blast Zoned away. Is this still lethal? So if I attack with 2 creatures, they get +3/+3. That's 3, 6, 7, 8, +5. Yes. So this is still fine. Weird game. Oof. Okay, we win. I believe we are now up to 3-0. All right, we have a reasonable looking opening hand here. So we have Dryad Arbor on 1 into something on turn 2, and it varies a little bit depending on what I see and what I draw. As of right now, it's probably Elvish Visionary. That's fine, because I would love to Elvish Visionary into another 1-drop to play. But it's possible that I Sylvan Anthem instead to just set up some selection. Fantastic. So let's go get our friend, ye old Dryad Arbor, and see what awful things our opponent wants to do to us. So we could be a Beanstalk deck, could be like a Jeskai Control deck list, could be a Cephalid Breakfast deck. It's Breakfast. Okay. So we would now like to race our opponent, which is a little tricky, because I could just die next turn. Just Cephalid Illusionist into go. Sure. I'm not going to think about this too much. So you come first. You come second. Now we have 3-ish mana. I think I'm just going to Visionary, see what the redraw brings. Because we could hit like a Heritage Druid negative. So let's go 1 and 2 for Leaf Crowned Visionary. I just want extra bodies that can attack next turn because we can make these base 5/5 creatures. Grow them from the Lord, grow them from Sylvan Anthem. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these 2 alone is already this. And I can do Land and Dryad Arbor for Sylvan Anthem beyond that. Fuck. Okay, we're probably dead. I'm gonna go pee, and when I come back, we'll see whether or not we're dead. Oh, hey, not very much happened. Looks like my opponent revealed a handful of cards, got one extra land? No extra lands, and then just passed, so that's great. So I need to now sequence out this turn. So I would like all of these to attack as 5 power base creatures. So that's this mana tied up. This is free or free adjacent. When do I cast Sylvan Anthem? And then there's this. So if I have 6 creatures in play, because I use this to do this, this can still... Okay. So let's Windswept Heath, fetch a land, do like a Bayou, cast Allosaurus Shepherd. I can pay the 1 here with Dryad Arbor to draw a card. Or I could just cast Sylvan Anthem. I think I draw the card. Oops, all Sylvan Anthems. Okay, well, do that. This is unfortunately not going to be lethal, and I probably just lose the next turn. Oh yeah, they're going to Nadu again. This is a miserable gameplay experience. Like, it is fine as far as competitive power level goes, I think. But the tell me when I can play the game again pattern that we have seen get cards banned in the past, like Modern Second Sunrise, is not particularly engaging. Okay, looks like I do get to attack. My opponent cast a Brainstorm in the middle there, but not keep their chain going. Oh, everybody's dead. Am I just gonna die now? Are you just gonna combo me out from here? It's fine if it happens. You've got 12 cards in hand. There's one. There's the Illusionist. And now this is presumably just going to result in a Dread Return on Thassa's Oracle that kills me. Let's fast forward to that. Okay, so what we're actually caring about here, why we're waiting, is I just want to see if there's anything spicy in my opponent's deck list. Looks like not really, other than the Memories Journey. So that's some Doomsday tech, so our opponent can flash this back if something goes wrong with the Thassa's Oracle, so they don't just immediately mill out. Alright, we were very close to goldfishing through our opponent there, although if I'm being honest, we got a little bit lucky that their Nadu stuff did not pop off harder. So, this is for Nomads in Core, this is to goldfish. I can do Fairy or Endurance versus their deck to try to disrupt the Thassa's Oracle kill. It doesn't really help me out versus Nadu, unfortunately, and like same is true for Fairy. Abrupt Decay is fine for interacting with the creatures. So we've got pretty decent sideboard options, and the question becomes, what do we not want here? I don't want to drag the game on. So that probably means this stuff goes. That probably means that this value-oriented engine goes. I want to just hoof kill as quickly as possible. I think I want this for Nomads. And then how much of this do I want? I don't think I'm going to cut any 1-drops here. I think I want as many as possible for Gaia's Cradle mana. I just want to Natural Order on turn 3 as frequently as humanly possible. I feel very awkwardly about Endurance here. Alright. Creature, Shepherd, Creature. I don't know that I end up smoothly curving out into Natural Order, and I might not be able to play my Disruption that I've got here. I don't think I like this one. I think this is one of my first mulligans of this league, though. Turn 1, Dude. Turn 2, Abrupt Decay, probably. Otherwise, Dude, pass. I can... I probably keep one of these 2 cards. I think I'm going to get rid of Endurance. And I think Boseiju is my first land drop along with this. Misty Rainforest, in theory, is probably getting me black mana. I can get extra mana with the Sentinel here after playing Wirewood to Abrupt Decay while also advancing my board, and then hopefully I draw into a natural order in the next 2 draws. Oh, just main phase 1 Brainstorm. Potentially playing around Bowmasters, which is probably a reasonable thing to do. Green Sun. That's quite actively good. I think I don't show Cradle this turn. I think I go fetch for black mana. Green Sun for 1 to pick up Allosaurus Shepherd. Now my stuff is uncounterable. Add green mana. Put Wirewood into play to protect these things. I have Decay for a creature my opponent plays out. Otherwise, I have 5 of my 6 mana that I need to activate Allosaurus Shepherd. I technically have 6 if I use Wirewood, so like I can very awkwardly attack for 5 already. I mean, that resolves. I can needle that if I need to. Sorry, I can decay that needle if I need to. Cut off Wirewood, and then sword something else. Alright, that seems good. But now I need to just top deck well. I need to just draw something else to do. And unfortunately, I've taken out a bunch of my top end here. Not really worried about something like Wasteland here. Let's just go boop. Send in for 2. Have decay for something like Nadu. Probably not decaying Needle without a bunch of like Elvish Visionaries here. I don't really know that that makes sense. Okay. I'm not happy about it, but okay. Oh, we're fighting further? Shit. Okay. I mean, resolves. And here I was thinking that that was going to be beneficial in my direction. Wrong. We get a love tap for 1, and then we're just putting another body in play that means that natural order is reasonable as a top deck. But we're a little soft to my opponent's combo now. So let's hope they don't have it. Nice, nice. Dak, that's not what I need right now. We're turning cards sideways. If my opponent has a trick, they have a trick. You know, like, it's not unreasonable for my opponent to have some flash creature like Endurance. We're going to pass the turn holding this land to bluff interaction for a combo piece. Maybe make my opponent think twice about playing something out immediately. Yeah. Orum's Chant. Sure. So this is an indication that my opponent is, like, tilting towards the full-on combo side. So I die to Illusionist next turn if I don't draw interaction for it, and my opponent can just Orum's Chant me right here. Oh, they didn't. That was cool. I liked the part where they did not Orum's Chant me. I don't think this is lethal, though. I sure am casting it, though. So do this. My opponent does the Nadu stuff in response. Let's just always yield to all these. Alright, they get more land. Force of Will, pitching Narcomoeba, unfortunately. Alright, and my opponent has Cephalid Illusionist in hand. I don't have an answer to that combo. I'm not going to make them click through that. We're just going to call it there, and we pick up our first loss of the league. Unfortunately, Dryad Arbor means that this hand is not keepable, as it doesn't tap for mana on turn 1, and I think it's far too risky to keep this. Oh, deck. Oh, no. We're on 5. This is a keep on 5. I'm not keeping this one. That's just hard to cast. The next one's harder. I think I don't need 2 Nettle Sentinels. This is the hardest turn 1 of the entire league, because I can choose to play around counterspells, I can choose to play around Wasteland, or I can choose to deploy a bunch of cards next turn. I think given how just dominated this format currently is by blue decks, I am going to go with Allosaurus Shepherd. But, you know, Eldrazi is another pillar of this format that is playing 4 Wastelands and a bunch of tutors for them. Painter. Okay. Traditional Painter, though. Gaia's Cradle. Let's start punching really hard next turn. So this can be Dryad Arbor. Then I can just Gaia's Cradle, play out both of these. Bash in for 15 or so damage next turn. Can I make this not Dryad Arbor and still play all of my things? Yes. I could do that by playing Nettle Sentinel, Gaia's Cradle, 2 mana, Green Sun, X equals 1, untap this, get either a Heritage Druid or a Birchlore Ranger. It shouldn't matter which one. Let's go Heritage Druid, 3 mana, Quarian Ranger, untap this. Next turn we attack for 20. So, your move, Yugi boy! Red Elemental Blast. Fuck. Alright, technically it was a Pyroblast, but you know. You know. So now we've got nothing going on. Luckily, we're going to top deck natural order. All right, pass turn. Just hands off the keyboard. Do you have Grindstone? No, no Grindstone. Fantastic. Not dead yet. Goblin Welder. Okay. Here's where we top deck natural order. That's kind of like natural order. So 3, 4, 5. 3, 6, 7, 8. Green Sun X equals 7? No. Both my big fatties are 8 mana fatties, right? Just remembering that correctly? Yeah. Damn. Okay, so what is the next plan? Green Sun X equals 2 Elvish Visionary. Green Sun X equals 3 Grist. X equals 3 Grist can answer Painter, but then Goblin Welder just brings it back. It can answer Goblin Welder. I still die to Grindstone. I think I like Elvish Visionary Redraw. Or I could go for the thing that I forgot the name of, Eladamri. I could go for Eladamri and try to run hot. Let's go Eladamri and try to run hot. That card has not done... Do I Nettle Sentinel? I don't think I Nettle Sentinel because I could, in theory, attack. I guess. Yeah, let's try to run hot here. You know, I'm going to consider that running hot. That's lethal next turn. All right. I guess let's see if we're dead. There's probably only like 2 Grindstones in there. I'm not 100% current on Painter builds, but usually they're much, much lower on Grindstone than they used to be. Oh, holy shit. Holy shit. They didn't need to kill that, but they don't know that. Eladamri, you're the greatest. Why did I ever doubt you? All right. You may have your mana. Get Bobble back. That's fine. Take that as a redraw. Floating mana. This is fine. So it's another blast that counters this natural order that I care about. Ooh, I am dead next turn, but my opponent is tapped out. Muy delicioso. There's... Ooh, okay, they're not tapped out anymore, but that's not red mana. Is this lethal? So 3 creatures, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus 5, 17. Yes. But I have to keep Nettle Sentinel here. Or the Heritage Druid. The Hoof. Easy. My opponent lost this one for Pyroblasting the Eladamri that didn't matter. So the top card of my deck there has to be a land or a non-creature spell, or I guess another Eladamri or large creature. How reasonable is it to have the read that natural order is the top card of my deck there? Like, is Pyroblasting that card correct because of what it represents? Or did my opponent misplay and I won that one? Unsure. Okay, so yes, 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 probably yes, yes, maybe? Maybe? No. So how the F do I sideboard? I don't know that I am playing all of that. The problem with trying to play a natural order for hoof game is that Fury can be coming in these post-sideboard games where my opponent might wipe out a whole bunch of creatures and keep me off of casting natural order. I'm not 100% convinced that I want more of them. I'm also not convinced that I don't. I can tell you that I don't want the Jaspara Sentinel. And then I don't know how to sideboard. Specifically, Fury is kind of fucking with me. I'm not the biggest Atraxa fan here. Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blasts are real and are not getting sideboarded out. I do want to value grind against my opponent with some of this stuff, but I don't know that I get to keep both just based on the number of raw cards that I probably want to bring in. So like always, always, always... I don't know. I don't know. Let's do this. Do this. Endurances. I probably need some number of endurances. Get rid of you. Get rid of one Nettle Sentinel. That gets an endurance into the deck that I can tutor for. But this is one of those times that I think I could spend half an hour figuring out a sideboard plan for this matchup. Like, I would really need to map what I thought they were going to be doing in the post-sideboard games. This is slightly awkward, but probably fine. This is an aggro hand rather than a combo hand. So the goal here is to punch my opponent in the face, and then punch my opponent in the face, and then punch my opponent in the face twice. Ooh, line might change a little bit. Always this. Put one of these in play. And then there's a lot of ways this next turn cycle can go. Sure. That means that attacks with Nettle Sentinel are not the best. But that's fine. That's probably not why we are using Nettle Sentinel right now. We're using it for the Birchlore Rangers synergies. I think I just shit my whole hand into play. Easily. But I don't have black mana for decay. Still don't have black mana for decay. Wait, Birchlore Rangers, though. Okay, let's see where this goes. So I do this for green. Yeah. Nettle Sentinel. Untap Nettle Sentinel, yes. This is just 3 mana. This is Collector Oof with 1 extra. This is this. Yeah. So I can go ahead and make black mana here. Yeah. Heritage Druid. Untap my friends. Now make 3 mana. Collector Oof. Untap my friends. And then decay the Welder before this shit gets obnoxious. And now I'll need to draw something off the top to punch through Phyrexian Dragon Engine or otherwise win the game. But I have mana covered forever. Probably. So that's a little damning. That sucks as a follow-up. Alright, well, we both get to have cool turns. I'm just playing a Heritage Druid and passing, unfortunately. This is why I talked about Fury in the sideboarding step. I don't know, maybe if Fury is such a big deal, the Sylvan Anthem matters more than I think it does. It's just very tough right now to... Ooh. Yeah? 3, 6, 9, untap, murder swing. 3, 6, keep, 9, oof, untap friends, get big. So this is theoretical lethal, but not actual lethal. Because my opponent can Urza Saga and absorb some of this. There's 21 incoming. My opponent is going to take the majority of their life total in damage this turn, but they're not dead. So this is 16 damage, so Ancient Tomb is no good anymore. Yeah, these have trample, so it doesn't really matter how you block. Opponent's at 2. Painter does it. Just Painter plus activate. Wait, hold on. Does that do it? Because this can't be tapped. May live to see another day. Mox Opal. Any green spell is lethal, but my Nettle Sentinels don't untap by themselves. Ooh. Yeah, my opponent is not dead here. Okay. I will send in with both. The block is obligatory. Alright. So if my opponent draws Painter, that's this mana, then they still need another land to activate afterwards. That's another mana source to activate. That is tragic. 1 point of life there, and any green spell is lethal. I don't want to, like, calculate out how many, like, outs we had there, but it was an absolutely absurd number. Okay. Do I want more endurances? Endurances help with the combo aspect, they help with the graveyard aspect, but they take away from the natural order kill, which is what I want to do. I don't really want to drag the game on. Very, very unsure here. If I do that, I could take out, like, slow graveyard hate like this, I guess, and try to get more of these mid-range cards in. Just, like, trim another 1-drop. They're bad against Daze, or not Daze, Fury. Okay. This Green Sun is probably turn 1 Dryad Arbor. It could just be turn 1 Nettle Sentinel. Turn 1 Nettle Sentinel, turn 2 Birchlore Rangers. 2 mana, 3 mana, Green Sun X equals 2. Or Collector Oof? Okay, let's do that. On the off chance that there's any Blood Moon effects, I will just grab a basic Forest. And Nettle Sentinel. Fury again, though. Relatively speaking, a pain in the butt. Attack is free. Attack is free. Drop our opponent to 18. Cast, untap. Yes. Cradle, 1, 2, and 3. Green Sun for oof. And pass. So the hope is to then pivot into a Crater Hoof game relatively quickly. I can hoof next turn if I draw another Cradle, which is a reason to play out all of the creatures, whereas I could pass the turn with Disruptor Flute up if I want to become better against Fury, but have no chance at hoofing immediately. Fury confirmed good. And let's see what the follow-up here is beyond that. A Fable. Sure. Okay. I am going to cast Abrupt Decay. And I think I'm just going to take this out so my opponent can't get the selection here. And I do not want to offer a trade of Nettle Sentinel or Goblin Shaman. I'm not interested in that trade because Gaia's Cradle no longer produces mana if I lose Nettle Sentinel. My opponent gets their free treasure every turn, and hopefully I can crack back for some damage at some point. I'm on track to be losing the mid-range game here, unfortunately. Yikes. 3? Sure. This is not great. So we'll go Yaw, and then Disruptor Flute Urza Saga. It can still tap for mana, but we are going to shut off the other abilities so our opponent doesn't just bury us in raw power. I'm on a 3-turn clock from this nonsense, unfortunately. So even if Urza Saga does nothing... Oh, that's Grindstone. That's unfortunate. That was just played right in time to juke with Disruptor Flute. Unless... Okay. But I'm playing Rexage. Got a Blast as your last card? Unbeatable. Absolutely unbeatable. Okay, so we get blasted. Grindstone plus Activate kills us. That was an incredibly fast match. We do end up in the positives for the league at a 3-2 finish, though. So, at the end of the league here, is it good? I don't know. I think that is my conclusion. Did Sylvan Anthem do relevant things in this league? Yes. I played 2 of them. It allowed me to attack with, I think, 3 creatures for 9 damage over 2 turns, killing my opponent. Did Eladamri do anything in this league? Yes, it served as bait for Natural Order. I frequently boarded this out because it felt like the games were just so fast that I wasn't going to be sitting there and grinding value with this. At any given time, roughly half your deck is going to be hits for this, so this can be a lot of value, you know, if you get Terminused or Furied or something and you need to rebuild from there. But I have so many good, fair tools in my sideboard that I guess I'm unsure how to sideboard in some cases. Like, there was one round where I think everything other than the fairies was a reasonable card that I could sideboard in. I think that was the round versus Painter at the end there. So I am not convinced that what is going on here is better than some sort of like green-black Cradle control deck list that has more options. If you like the classic Elves stuff from many, many years back, there's a lot to like here. But if we're kind of ignoring Bowmasters as a thing that is existing by submitting a deck that looks like this, is what's going on here better than just -4 Eladamri, -4 Sylvan Anthem, +4 Glimpse of Nature, +2 Wirewood Symbiote, like +1 Quarian Ranger, something like that? +1 Natural Order? Like, is that better? Unsure. I think this is an interesting build. I am not surprised that this did well. I also don't know that I would recommend sleeving it up, though. Let me know down in the comments below kind of what you think of this one. I am very torn about this one. And it seemed like I was just sideboarding out a lot of the singleton cards here, which is maybe not the best sign for the deck's construction. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. If you need cards, especially for Vegas, toamagic.com, promo code ThrabenU, let them know that I sent you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!